All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down a really powerful metaphor from a piece by writer Yoon Hae-rock, one that paints a pretty stark picture of a democracy in crisis. So the author starts us off with these images. Think about it for a second. A steamed bun with no filling, a lighthouse that's gone dark, an empty rifle. They all look the part on the outside, but they're completely useless, right? They're missing the one thing that gives them their purpose. And this is the setup for the whole argument, that a nation's democratic system is in exactly the same boat. So, here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to unpack this central metaphor piece by piece, starting with the runaway chariot itself, then looking at the horses pulling it, the chaos they're creating, and the one tiny part that's gone missing. And finally, we'll see who the author thinks is behind it all, and, most importantly, who has the power to fix it. Okay, first up, the runaway chariot. The author paints this incredibly dramatic picture, comparing the entire democratic system to a chariot that is just running wild. It's like a runaway train, and oh yeah, it's also carrying a time bomb. And what's really key here is the urgency the author is trying to convey. This isn't just some small political hiccup that needs a little tweak. No, the argument is that this is a full-blown emergency. The whole thing could derail and collapse at any second. So, if democracy is a runaway chariot, you've got to ask, what's pulling it? Well, that brings us to the three horses, or as it's known in Korean, semdumacha. Let's dig into what that actually means. This three-horse chariot isn't just a random phrase. It's a really powerful metaphor for something fundamental, the separation of powers. You know, the idea that you have these three centers of power that are supposed to work together, balancing each other out to pull the nation forward in a steady, safe direction. And here they are, our three horses. You've got the legislative branch, which makes the laws, the executive branch, which carries them out, and the judicial branch, which interprets them. In theory, it's a perfect system of checks and balances. But, and this is a huge but, according to the author, that's not what's happening at all. This is where the metaphor takes a really dark turn. These horses aren't pulling together anymore. In fact, they're pulling in opposite directions, fighting each other, and throwing the whole chariot into total chaos. So what does that chaos actually look like? Well, the author describes each horse's behavior. Horse number one has just gone completely rogue. It's been, quote, contaminated by ism and chasm, basically poisoned by ideology and division, and it's dragging the chariot all over the place. Then you've got horse number two. This one is described as being addicted to populism. It's wildly swinging what the author calls a rusty sword, just recklessly slashing at everything and everyone around it, causing all kinds of damage. And get this, while those two horses are creating all this mayhem, there is a third horse. This is supposed to be the sane one, the one trying to get things back on track. But what's happening to it? It's being muzzled, tied down, completely silenced, and unable to stop the other two. This chaos leads to some pretty wild results. The author uses this incredible Korean phrase, dokgebi bangmangi, which translates to a goblin's club. The idea is that a gavel, which should be a symbol of justice and careful thought, has turned into this magical club that just, poof, mass produces bad laws based on pure power with no real debate or deliberation at all. So you have to ask, right? How did it get this bad? What could possibly go so wrong that the whole system breaks down like this? Well, the author says it all comes down to one tiny but absolutely critical missing part, the linchpin. Now, if you've ever seen an old wagon wheel, you know what a linchpin is. It's that tiny little pin that you slide through the axle to keep the wheel from flying off. It might seem insignificant, but without it, the whole thing crashes. And in this metaphor, that vital little pin is the connection between law and good old-fashioned common sense. And this slide does a great job of showing what happens when you lose that connection. On one side, you have law as it should be, a foundation of justice, a guide that flows from common sense. But on the other, you see what the author claims it has become, a weapon, a tool for interference, totally detached from the reality of people's lives. Now, according to the author, this whole breakdown, this missing linchpin, it didn't just happen by accident. It was a deliberate act. The text argues there are villains who are actively benefiting from all this chaos and are, in fact, the ones who pulled the pin out in the first place. And these villains have a playbook. The author lists out their tactics, using sweet-sounding slogans to confuse everyone, gaslighting the public to make people doubt what they're seeing with their own eyes, stirring up division for their own gain, and all the while, they frame these destructive actions under the positive banner of reform. So where is this runaway chariot actually headed? The author pulls no punches here. The end goal, according to this piece, is to create what's called a pseudo-rule-of-law state. It's a country that looks like a democracy, it talks like a democracy, but on the inside, it's been completely hollowed out. And it's just a stepping stone to a full-blown dictatorship. Okay, so that's a pretty bleak picture, isn't it? A runaway chariot careening towards a cliff. But the author doesn't just leave us there in despair. The whole argument pivots to the one and only force that can actually stop the chariot and fix this mess.
And there's a clear 3-step plan, all using that same chariot metaphor. Step 1, you have to stop the chariot. Just halt its destructive momentum. Step 2, you've got to realign the parts. Get the wheels and axle working together again. And step 3, the most important part, find that missing linchpin and put it back where it belongs. Reconnect law with common sense.
This quote really gets to the absolute heart of the author's solution. So who has the power to do all this? Who can stop the villains and fix the chariot? It's not the politicians. It's what the author calls the mature, sovereign citizen. The idea is that an aware, active public is the absolute ring, the only thing strong enough to stop the chaos and bring the community back to life.
And this is such a key takeaway. The author's arguing that what makes a nation truly advanced isn't its economy or its technology, it's the maturity of its citizens, their ability to see through the noise, to think critically, and to act as the ultimate safeguard of their own democracy.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question. When the system itself has lost that essential piece that holds it all together, who's supposed to fix it? The author's answer is pretty clear. It's not the system's job to fix itself. The power and the responsibility to find that linchpin and repair the chariot rests squarely in the hands of the people.